Hi everyone! Ezra here is to read you a fun book, and I hope everyone's having a good day. Today I'm going to read you a really fun, cool one, a really cool alphabet book called ABCs of the Web, Alphabet Primer for Young Developers in Training, a Code Babies book, by John C. Vanden Heuvel Sr. and Andrei Ostrovsky, MD, and illustration by Tom Holes. And I hope you enjoy this fun, cool book. A is for anchor tag. Code an A. Download an A. What begins with A? Anchor tag brings elements together for a day. B is for browser. Blog a B. Backlog a B. What begins with B? Browser looks for keywords on the internet tree. C is for cookie. Theta C, Cascada C. What begins with C? Cookies store your page views and track your activity. D is for domain. Array-a-D, display-a-D. What begins with D? Domains are special places for web places to be. E is for elements. Script and E, zip and E. What begins with E? Elements are building blocks for websites that you see. F is for function. Style an F. Rasterize an F. What begins with F? Functions have specific tasks like zoom, delete, or half. G is for Google. Loop a G, group a G. What begins with G? Google helps us search the web and check email for free. H is for HTML. Make markup an H, develop an H. What begins with H? HTML is the framework that makes up a web page. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. I is for internet. String an I, ping an I. What begins with I? The internet connects computers to the networks in the sky. J is for JavaScript. Port a J, export a J. What begins with J? JavaScript tells the web page how to behave. K is for keyword. Crawl a K, install a K. What begins with K? Keywords guide browsers and help them find their way. L is for link. Slide an L, align an L. What begins with L? Links are shortcuts between pages so you don't have to dwell. M is for Mozilla. Animate an M, navigate an M. What begins with M? Mozilla makes nonprofit and open source programs. N is for Node.js. Hack an N, unpack an N. What begins with N? Node.js is code that does more tricks than most stuntmen. O is for open source. Click an O, transmit an O. What begins with O? Open source is sharing code and adding what you know. P is for PHP. Host a P, post a P. What begins with P? PHP helps websites and databases agree. PHP stands for Hypertext Preprocessor. Q is for query. Float a queue, quote a queue. What begins with Q? Queries can ask a website specific things to do. R is for Ruby. Transport an R, support an R. What begins with R? Ruby is a full stack code that makes sites look like stars. S is for SEO. Link an S, sync an S. What begins with S? SEO helps make websites easier to find. Search engine optimization. is what it stands for. T is for tag. Nest a T, test a T. What begins with T? Tag indicates what style web page elements should be. U is for URL, which stands for Uniform Resource Locator. Select a U, connect a U. What begins with U? URL is a web address that browsers can come to. V is for virus. Unlock a V, block a V. What begins with V? Viruses are bugs that make computers cough and sneeze. W is for WordPress. Email a W, scale a W. What begins with W? WordPress is a blog program to help relay the news. X is for XML, which stands for External Markup Language. Store in X, explore in X. What begins with X? XML is coding that lets users read and follow. Y is for YouTube. Catch a Y, flash a Y. What begins with Y? YouTube shows online videos so funny that you could cry. Z is for Z-index. Route a Z, check out a Z. What begins with Z? Z-index is the order in which elements should be. Now we know our ABCs. Next time, won't you code with me? I hope you enjoyed that really fun and cool alphabet book.